Hi there, this is Miss Karen and I am your instructor for today. Our lesson is on Hundert. I am not even going to attempt to pronounce his first name. So we're going to move past that one and we're just going to go with his last name because I think that I will do it a whole lot more justice if I don't even try. But Hundert is actually a really cool artist. I love his work. He was an Austrian born in New Zealand, and he felt like spirals were fascinating and that lines were immoral, and that means they were wrong. He hated rulers, and he said that basically cowards used rulers. And I can kind of identify with that because when I was in college, my teachers did not let me use rulers. I had to learn how to trust my own artistic ability. And if my lines weren't straight, I had to keep working at it. He liked to use bright colors and organic or free-formed forms, and he very often would incorporate human forms in his art. We're not going to include the human aspect of his inspiration work, but we are going to do the spiral work. So this is a picture of what his basic style was. You're going to notice lots of spirals and lines. Nothing is perfect. It almost has like a coffee cup feel. It's groovy looking. I love it. This is our inspiration piece. And we're going to do that on this paper here. It is watercolor paper. It is small in form, but that does not matter. It is still quality. You notice how thick it is. It's almost a board. I'm going to tear off a piece because you always want to be separate from your book. If it spills, you'll end up ruining all those pages. Now you notice that like a piece of it came off. You can trim that with scissors when you are done. You have watercolors. Mine are well used, but that's okay. You have a paintbrush, which is basically just wood, a barrel, and synthetic hair. Synthetic means it's not real. It's not horse or human or anything like that. It is just fake. It's almost like a wig. You want to make sure that when you use the watercolors, you have a good water source with you with clean, fresh water. I usually only go about halfway up my bucket. Any more than that's really not necessary. I also like to have a napkin nearby in case I need to blot or dab it. You have a pencil. If you need it, you can use it. Honestly, I'm going to use the Sharpie, but I do suggest as the beginner that you draw it first with your pencil and then work to your Sharpie. But it's really hard for you to see the pencil on the video, so I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to trust my ability to do this on my own with a Sharpie and not make a mistake. So to start with, I'm going to set this stuff aside so I can have a nice clean surface. It's a square, so you don't have to do horizontal or vertical. I'm going to start off with a landline. Now my landline is going to be an irregular line. Nothing straight. Below that, I'm going to stripe it again with another line that is nothing straight. Now with my Sharpie, I can add little checkerboards if I want to in just a few spots. The reason we're using this permanent marker is because it does not spread when water is applied, so it's a really good outliner. There are other professional versions out there, but honestly I find that Sharpie and Bic are the best. I think Target has another line of them out, and they're not bad at all. And in all honesty, every now and then, it's rare, but every now and then, the dollar stores will carry their own form of permanent marker. You run the risk of it being a junkie pack because they're only $1 a pack, but when I find them, I buy all of them. because you get all the different colors. There's like 6 in a pack, and they may not last forever, but at $1 for a pack, you've already saved money. Okay, so I want to start by putting a flower or a tree above that main line. It's going to be a double line. You notice I'm using my whole arm to pull lines. I'm not using my hand because my hand arches. I don't have a straight ability to move my fingers the right way. So by using my whole arm, I can just pull or push or slide to slide, and it works out great. I'm going to stripe it and fill in every other one. You do not have to do this exactly like mine. You can shift it up, make it your own. But have some fun with it. This is a whimsical piece. Okay, so then we're going to do a big circle. Okay, so that turned out more oval. That's okay. Go with it. I'm going to do another shape in the middle, another shape in the middle. And then I'm going to give it lines. I have to remember that you guys are looking from above, and sometimes my hand gets in the way, so I apologize if that happens. At the end of each of these is a little dot. Not all of them have little openings. Some of them are just a dot, but that's okay. All right, so that's one layer. Let's go ahead and add another layer, but I'm going to stop at my base and start back up again. Do a couple rows, and now I'm going to do another tree. I don't think I'm going to polka dot that one, but I am going to checkerboard the stems. It's almost Lorax-like. It reminds me very much of Lorax. So let's do another row, but this time we're going to go into another tree right away. The size of them is up to you. This is not a realistic picture. If this were realistic, well, first of all, I'd be a little worried because we have circle trees. But if this were realistic, the further something is, the smaller it is. Basically, if you look up into the sky and you see an airplane, it's about this big, if that. It's tiny. When it comes to the ground, is it still this big? No. It's huge. It fits hundreds of people and all their luggage and all the gas and all of that. So the further it is away, the smaller it is. The remainder of this is going to be stripes. I'm just not going to put them through my objects. What do I mean by that? I'll show you in a sec. Look, I'm going through black lines so I can just go straight through. I cheated. I'm going to stop and keep going. I don't want it, I want this to look like it's in front. So I'm not going to draw my lines in front of them. I'm going to keep it behind. Now the fill-in, as the artist, I keep saying this, the fill-in is up to you. I'm going to go ahead and sign it with my Sharpie so it shows. You can meticulously fill in each line a different color and let that line dry as it goes. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and if that's the way you want to do it, I do recommend doing all the parts that you want yellow first, all the parts you want red, all the parts you want orange. That way they dry in their own sections as you go. Because if you think of two puddles, if I have a red puddle and a yellow puddle and they're right next to each other and they accidentally touch, do they stay red and yellow? No, they become orange. It just becomes one big orange puddle. So the same thing with watercolors. If you have a wet section next to a wet section, they are going to bleed together. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that look. It's just up to you. Now our inspiration piece is done that way. Stripes of color filled in. But I want to show you a different way that you can fill this in. It is a fun, crazy way. I know, I'm nuts. First you want to do is wet your brush. I'm going to slide my paint over. And I'm going to wet a section. And I'm going to wet my brush. I'm going to go to a color. And I'm going to tap it onto my section. So I'm not staying in my lines. I want this to bleed. I want it to spread and blend. I want a variety of colors on here. Notice I'm touching my color with water first before I put it on my paper, because this is dry. See, there's nothing on it. You have to wet it first. So have some fun. You have tons of sheets of paper. Just play with the watercolors. Fill your paper with color and then draw on top of it. That's another fun thing to do. Now that you know Hundert Wasser's style, you can just go to town creating fun, playful pieces. If you want your watercolor darker, layer it. Put a layer, let it dry, put a layer, let it dry. So that's the fun, playful way of doing a Hundert Wasser inspired piece. I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. I know it was a simple one, but it's a fun one. It's creative. You get to just go to town having some fun with the color. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to working with you guys again in the future. I'm going to pause the video and have a completed picture show up in just a minute, so hang tight. One last thing before we sign off. First of all, that's the finished product. Nice. You can always add some little speckles too if you want to. Make it playful, have it fun. But you'll also notice that your paper is going to bend. Go ahead and let it bend. And then when it is dry, put it under a book or two, and that will press it down flat again. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I look forward to working with you again. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.